it's Marianne and welcome to my Wasteless Life. In this video, I'm going to share with you my top 5 plant winter care tips. Thank you so much for joining me today, and if you're new, this is my Wasteless Life, where I take you along my plant journey and share with you my tips and tricks on houseplants and sustainable lifestyle. Before I share with you my tips on winter care for your houseplants, I'm making a couple of assumptions in this video. First, you already have taken the steps to transition your plants into the fall, and second, you already have acclimated your outdoor plants back into indoors. But if you haven't yet, don't worry, there's still some time for you to do it. Not a lot of time, but there's still some time for you to do it. And if you need some help and tips on that, go check out my 5 things plant parents need to do to get their plants fall ready, and also my vlog on acclimating plants indoors. So pause this video, go watch that, and then come back here. And for the tips that I'm going to share in this video, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on certain topics like light and watering, go check out my Houseplants Back to Basics series, where I cover all of these topics, so anything and everything that you need to know about taking care of your plant as a plant beginner, both during the growing season and the non-growing season. You can find it there. And it's a lot of information, but don't worry, it's not overwhelming. They're all practical and easy to follow care tips, and most of them are budget friendly. So last year I also did a winter care video, so this is going to be a little bit more update on that. But if you want, go check out that video as well if you want to see what was my game plan as a first-time plant parent, experiencing her first winter with a large plant collection without any fancy plant setup or spending a lot of money on grow lights and humidifiers. Before winter last year, most of the plants that I have in my collection are what I would call low maintenance plants. So while some of them did suffer a bit during the winter, most of them did pretty well with very minimal setup. I only had like one really good grow light, and I didn't have any humidifiers, although I did have a second-hand humidifier that I barely used because we were experiencing a relatively mild winter then. This year I did acquire a little bit more plants that some of them do need a little bit more attention over the winter, like the plants that I imported from Thailand, plants that I know are finicky, like I recently got a Calathea and a Stromanthi from a plant swap. And I also have new plants this year that I'm experiencing my first winter with them, so I know I have to pay a little bit more attention to those plants. And thanks to you all for the support that you've given me here on YouTube as well as on Instagram, I can afford this year to invest a little bit on my plant setup for the winter. And yes, some of them are gifted from brands, but the stuff that I did spend my own money on, it didn't cost me no more than $100, and the setup is not very complicated, and they're also highly optional. These are just like stuff that I purchased for my plants but aren't necessary for you to survive the winter. But it's something that you can also look into and consider if you're interested. For me, my winter care goals is plain and simple. It's survival. I'm not expecting my plants to push new growth. I'm not doing any crazy experiments on them like I do during the growing season. I am not transferring any plant into a new medium. I'm not doing any propagations, at least not until late winter when the temperatures are above freezing again. My entire goal for the winter is for my plants to survive and all of them make it to next spring. But wherever you are located, during the cold months, there are 2 things that we have to combat: drier air and lower temperatures. Lower light might be a third issue, but for most of our houseplants, they know how to adapt to getting a lower amount of light and a shorter period of light during these times. And we often hear that during this time our plants would go into dormancy. For our houseplants, that simply means that our plants would stop pushing out new growth, at least for most of them. Some of them might continue to still push out growth, but they aren't as fast as they did over the growing season. And in fact, for some of our plants, they might shed or lose some leaves as an act of self-preservation so that they don't require or need that much energy to survive throughout the winter season. However, a lot of our houseplants are tropical houseplants, and there's no such thing as winter from where they originally came from. But for most of us, we bought our houseplants from nurseries and garden centers who got their plants from growers in California and in Florida, and most of these plants are grown to be indoors. So for me, if our plants survived in our environment during the growing season, they most likely will survive in our environment during the winter season, but they would need a little bit of assistance from us. But at the same token, if you got a plant that was giving you problems over the growing season because you don't have the right environment for them, then they're going to give you the same problems and more during the winter season. So here are my top 5 winter plant care tips. First one is managing your watering. Group your plants with similar care together. They don't have to be from the same family or same variety, just that they have similar care when it comes to light and watering, but especially with watering. That way you don't miss a plant that needs watering when it's lost among the plants that you already recently watered. During the winter, we are watering less, so it's easy to forget when we last watered our plants. But if we group plants that have kind of similar watering schedule, it's easier to check on them without having to check on every single one of our plants all the time. You just have to check one or two of the plants that in the same group, and you can pretty much assess that most of those plants, if not all in that group, will have the same watering schedule. Second tip is concerning light. So during the winter season, the sun is half as strong. So it's okay to put your plants as close to the window as you can. Even if they are not plants that require direct sun, you can put them closer to the windows to get whatever light that they can get from the sun, because as mentioned, the sun is only half as strong during this season, so there's no danger of burning the leaves of your plants or your plants getting too much sun. It's also important to clean your windows so that a lot more light could come through, and also clean the leaves of your plants so that they could absorb light more easily. The problem with this though, the closer our plants is to the window, the colder the temperature is, and the more chances of them experiencing cold drafts, especially if we have very old windows. So how can we remedy this? If you have north or east facing windows, then putting your plants as close to those windows as possibly can might be futile because they're getting more cold temperature than they are getting light. If you have those kinds of window, investing in grow lights and artificial lights might be more beneficial for your plants than putting them closer to the window. When it comes to picking and choosing grow lights, you can refer to my videos in Houseplants Back to Basics, but to save money on grow lights, just buy a good grow light for the plants that really need it, group them together, and then for your other plants that don't really need it, which to be honest, a lot of our house plants would be able to survive with lower amount of light during the winter, then you could use just an ordinary daylight bulb with them and they will do just fine. But if you do have south and west facing windows, put your plants as close as you possibly can to those windows during the day, but at night make sure you pull them back from the window so that they don't get a cold draft during those cold nights. And if it's possible for you, put up some thicker drapes so that it could act as an additional insulation away from the cold drafts for your plants. Third thing that you need to pay attention to during the winter is pests. In my experience, pests has been a bigger problem for me during the winter than it is during the growing season. Like right now, I'm having a little bit of a fungus gnat problem. Not as bad as it is during the spring, but they're there. But in my opinion, fungus gnats are more of a year-round thing. But during this season, the ones that you really need to pay attention to are spider mites, mealybugs, and scales. They usually pop up during this time of year because of the drier air and lack of humidity. You can take precautionary measures and spray your plants with your choice of a pest prevention for your houseplants, but I would do this sparingly. Once you see early signs, do take action. Spray your plants, spray the topsoil a little bit, clean and wipe your leaves, especially the undersides, because that's where the pests love to hide. But if you don't need it and if your plants are in a good condition, I would not spray them. But that's just me, because I think it's just do more harm than good, and especially during the winter time, less is more. You can damage your more delicate plants if you spray them often with insecticidal soap, especially if it's something that you haven't really tried out with your plants, and they might just cause damage to the foliage. And again, it is winter time, our plants are not growing new leaves, so if they lose the leaves they currently have, it's hard for them to bounce back from that. Number 4 is temperature. Since most of our houseplants, as mentioned, are tropical plants, they like temperatures that are between 65 to 75 to 80 degrees. So most homes with heating will have temperatures that are at least in the low 60s. So most of our houseplants would be okay, but for some of us, we might need to invest in a space heater. But at the same time, we need to keep our plants away from our heat vents and our space heater, because that dry air is going to be very detrimental for our houseplants, even for our houseplants that are low humidity plants, because during the winter even our low humidity plants will benefit from increased humidity, because we will have about only 10% humidity in our house because of our heat vents and our space heaters. I do have a couple videos, and one included in my houseplants back to basics video on how to increase humidity for your houseplants. But for me, there are two ways that I'm doing this winter to help my plants have a little bit more humidity. One is getting the IKEA greenhouse cabinet. So this is more of a preference for me. You could also get a grow tent or an indoor greenhouse that you can buy, or you can DIY, or you could use a aquarium, turn it into a terrarium, or you could even use a clear plastic storage box and use it for your plants. It might not be aesthetically pleasing, but they are lifesavers during really cold nights for your plants. Second, and the more popular route to give our plants more humidity, is to get a humidifier similar to the one that I have here. This one was sent to me by the brand Tosot, and they sent it to me to give my honest review on, and I have been using it for more than 2 weeks now, and it's usually downstairs with my citrus plants and some of my propagations, but I have it here right now so I can share with you the pros and cons and my impressions of this humidifier. So the first pro is definitely the price. This is half the price of the fancier, higher end humidifiers that we often see plant people use, but it has a lot more features than, let's say, a CVS humidifier that costs pretty much about the same. And second thing that I like about this one is the build and design of the humidifier, because it makes it so much easier to clean. It's easier to clean than even the higher end humidifiers, because it doesn't have a lot of small parts, and it doesn't have a lot of crook and crannies where the calcium and mineral do build up, and it's harder to clean those areas. With this one, because of the way it's designed, it's very easy to clean. And I also have noticed that there's not a lot of buildup that's going on with this humidifier. It does have a built-in filter too, so you don't need an extra filter for it. But I also noticed that the buildup doesn't happen as quickly as it does. Plus, the power cord could be detached from the body, which is so much easier to lift the base and bring it onto the sink, drain it, and clean it, especially when you already have an entire setup already going on. You don't have to like unplug everything just to get your humidifier out of your setup and bring it to clean it or to refill it. It's so much more manageable. And it also has a 3 mist settings, but I only keep it at the lower mist setting because I think the low mist setting is strong enough that I don't need to crank it up to the highest setting. And if I keep it on the low mist setting and run it continuously, this tank holds about 4 liters, and that would last about at least 24 hours for me. And lastly, and it's one of my favorite features, is that it has an aromatherapy function. It has a small compartment at the base where you could put essential oils in, and the humidifier could act as an oil diffuser as well. The cons of this humidifier is it's missing some of the features that I really like from high-end humidifiers, like the humidity controls, the timers, the ability to have a warm and cool mist setting. This one only has a cool mist setting, and it doesn't come with a remote control. And it also has a single direction nozzle, and it will be better if it has a dual or 2 nozzles that could point in different directions so that it could cover more areas or more plants. If you're interested in purchasing this humidifier, I have an Amazon affiliate link down below where you can purchase it off Amazon, or you could buy it directly from their website using my code Plentiful10, which will give you a 10% off discount. This code is not an affiliate link, it's just a discount code for my viewers and subscribers, and will not work on Amazon. It will only work if you purchase the humidifier off their website. So just see which is more cost effective for you, buying it from Amazon or buying it directly from their website using my discount code. Additionally, the company is giving away 1 humidifier to one of my subscribers. To enter the giveaway, first you must be subscribed to my channel. Second, like this video. Third, follow me and follow Tosset on Instagram. I will have our Instagram profiles linked down below. Third, comment down below and let me know your IG handle. And for additional entries, go find my IG reel that features this humidifier. Like that IG reel, comment on it, tag a friend, share it on your story, and make sure you tag me and Tosset so we can view your story, and that will be your additional entry. So if you do all of that, you can get up to 4 additional entries. So this giveaway is open only up until October 28th, and the winner will be announced on October 30th. And this giveaway is limited to US subscribers only. The brand is directly sending the humidifier to the winner. The winner must be comfortable with me sharing their mailing address to the company. So those are my 5 winter care tips for your plants. Hope you find them helpful. And again, if you want more information on some of the tips that I mentioned, go check out my Houseplants Back to Basics series. And also, if you haven't yet, go subscribe to my newsletter. The October newsletter is about to drop really soon. It's the Halloween edition, so you'll get an exclusive video with that newsletter. So do subscribe if you haven't yet. The link to subscribe is also down in the description. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I hope you subscribe. I come up with houseplants and sustainable lifestyle videos every week. And if you haven't yet, go check out these videos up here until my next one. But until then, I see you. I appreciate you. Take care of yourself and each other and have a plentiful day. Bye.